Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So uh, in the chat box, if you can put in, some of you already have, but if you can put in your majors and the school you're attending, that'll be helpful. We already have somebody who is interested in graphic design and psychology. At Fresno State, we have many majors, okay, and we're going to speak to the ones that you put in, and then some other options that you may have that you might not think about. But first I would like to introduce the staff, and we'll start with Leanne.
Hi everyone, my name is Leanne Vang and I am the recruitment counselor for the Craig School of Business and also for the College of Arts and Humanities. Thank you for attending us today.
Okay, all right, Rich.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for attending. My name is Rich Partita. I'm the recruitment counselor for the Laos College of Engineering.
And Michelle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Perez, and I am the recruitment counselor for the Jordan College of Agricultural Sciences and Technology.
Good, thank you. We're going to go and talk about some things first, some items that might be, you might have questions about this terminology. So we're going to cover something. And again, if you just put your major and your school in the chat, that'll help us. Okay, so welcome everyone. And by the way, this counseling group has much information for you. The counselors here, the three counselors, an hour would not be enough to cover what they know about higher education and the pathway to higher education. So I appreciate all the counselors being with us today. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about what's the difference between a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science. Okay, so academia is divided between arts and sciences. And so an art, well, let's start with the science. Now let's start with an art. An art might be economics. Yes, economics is an art. Political science is an art. Sociology is an art. Education's an art. Graphic design's an art. Psychology is an art. What an art does is that you're going to receive an education and you're going to make an educated opinion about something. Okay, it's a broad degree. It's based on the liberal arts, and that is many different aspects of education you're going to learn about, and then you're going to make an opinion about something. Okay, now a science is based on fact. Now in the arts we use science, but how we apply it becomes very personal, and it also has to do with difference of opinions based on that educational background. Okay, for instance, teaching, one teacher might have a different aspect of teaching than another, and both might be good. All right, now a science is based on that science. So 10 plus 10 is 20. There's no debate on that. Now Rich, who has a math degree, might go into something conceptual about that, but basically there's no debate. See, we don't want your opinion if the bridge is going to work as a civil engineer. We want your math, we want your chemistry, we want your physics, we want your science. For instance, simulation in space, we have, based in science, we have simulations where astronauts are flying machines right now into outer space, and the first time they fly a jet or a rocket is successful because they already went to the simulation. So a science is based on fact. You don't want my opinion if I'm doing brain surgery. You want my knowledge and my science when I do brain surgery. Okay, so I see we added more. We have psychology, physical therapy. Good, we'll talk about that also. So again, if you haven't, just put your major and your high school in the chat. Okay, so the difference between a Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science. Okay, now, like most universities, we have schools and colleges within the university. So we have 8 schools and colleges, and again, we have 70 majors in these 8 colleges and schools, and these are called academic colleges and academic schools. Okay, so we have the Jordan College of Agricultural Science and Technology, which Michelle has a lot of information about that, and the College of Arts and Humanities, that's where graphic design is in, and of course we have the Craig School of Business. And Michelle, we now have 13 options, or is it 14 options counting the special major. I mean, not Michelle, Leanne. I think it's 13.
13.
Yes, 13 options. We're going to talk about those options here. Education, becoming a high school teacher or elementary school teacher. And of course, Rich is here to talk about all the majors in engineering. So and then we have the College of Health and Human Services, the College of Science and Mathematics, and the College of Social Sciences. Now, the person that oversees each one of those colleges is called the dean, the academic dean. Then within those colleges are departments, and those are called department chairs. And then you have professors that department chair oversees, and these are and the professors are aligned with the majors. So the way it works is college, departments, and majors. Okay, all right. So let's start off. We want to talk about. I know that Sienna, is it Sienna? Sienna, you are interested in graphic design. So we're going to get to each one of your majors, but we're going to talk about graphic design now. That's a fascinating major, Leanne, and I know it's in your college. Can you tell us a little bit about it? And I might interject something because my degree is associated with graphic design.
Yes, thank you so much, Rick. So with the graphic design program, there's actually 3 emphases. And a student would be able to choose the emphasis, which is really a particular study of graphic design. So it really depends on what you're interested in terms of graphic design. You have the option of either studying illustration. You also have just the general study of graphic design in general. And you also have interactive multimedia design, because there's definitely a lot of platforms that students can use. And really the formal basis of graphic design is learning how to manipulate images and creating products of art. And that can go into a lot of different fields. Could go into business, marketing materials, logo design, marketing of products for companies and organizations. But some of the formal and foundation basics that a student would learn going through the graphic design program would be someone or a student who is interested in more of the creative aspect. They're very interested in art, creating and designing, drawing, painting. Those are some of the classes that you're going to take at Fresno State. And this will help you to build the foundation of graphic design. You're also going to learn about the history of art. So you're going to learn about, and actually your professors are going to take you throughout the world, not literally, but actually showing you different types of artwork that are created from many years ago in different parts of the world. And so I was actually an art major myself. And at that time, graphic design was just coming out, but it's definitely a great field because it includes art with technology. And so there's a lot of software programs that they're going to teach you, and you're going to be able to manipulate a lot of images where you take different types of photos, or it could be things that you've drawn on the computer, and you're manipulating them into a piece of art. Or it could be, like I said, for marketing purposes. So that's just a little bit about graphic design, but it is a great program. It allows you to be able to expand on your creative thoughts, and you are able to work with other peers and your professors, and they will definitely help you to connect with other artists out there. So you're going to learn really a lot from others as you're exploring graphics and arts, and you're going to be able to also be able to critique art as well too. All right, so that's what I have for graphic design, right?
Leanne, you mentioned some things, and no matter what we look at, there's graphic design all around us. There's some type of design. And so many institutions, or some institutions, may talk about getting to the hard sciences, but how you promote those sciences and what you do when you become an engineer and make a lot of money, right? You go to the art. That's what you buy. That's what you decorate your home with. That's how you buy a car, different colors. What I studied in my master's program, my master's is in instructional technology, and I studied semiology. And Dr. Valencia is a semiologist here on campus, and a semiologist is what images and colors mean. And to give you an idea, it's a little bit different from what Leanne's talking about, although we have semiologists in art and graphic design and also interior design, but it's a little bit more specific. Now I'm going to back away, and you see my bulldog flag, Sienna. You see that my bulldog flag. Red means passionate, red means powerful, red means danger, okay, aggressiveness. Now just think if that bulldog symbol was light blue, it would mean something. So you as a future graphic design, it'll mean something else. It might mean more passive, it might mean more congenial, but certainly not as a red bulldog, which means something different. So that's called semiology. And you may want to start looking that way at different things, at your own school logo. And what does it mean? What does your school logo really mean? What's the messaging in it? And there's no answer. That's why it's an art, but you have a perspective that other people may not have. And then you also have to have talent. And that talent will carry you through some, I know a graphic designer, Sienna, that can't tell me what he produces, but what he can't explain it, but what he produces is real good. It's real good. It's very appealing. So take a look at, start thinking in your mind right now what a graphic designer is, what they do. Okay, and start looking at your logo, start looking at cars. Semantics are words, different words for the same thing. Well, that's what semiology is, different symbols that have different meanings. Okay, all right. So we're going to move on. Thank you, Leanne.
You're welcome.
Yes, and you notice that I think all of us are in red today, right? Our school colors, right? And that is correct. It has to do with that product. Some products don't have the correct color to meet their objective. So, and the correct look. So good. Well, you're very much welcome. Thank you for attending also. Okay, but stay with us because we're going to circle back to some things. It's all related. Okay, so we have, let's see. Oh, and if you did not put your major, it's okay to be undeclared. Okay, and I'm going to ask somebody to talk about undeclared. How undeclared is actually a good thing, and I think I'll give this to Rich. Rich, can you talk about coming into the university as undeclared? And some universities don't allow you to be undeclared. We do.
Yes, thank you for asking, Rick. I think undeclared students as well, because sometimes you really don't know what the university has to offer. Sometimes you'll sample different areas. It allows you to go into different departments and kind of see what your niche is. Because sometimes you might go in, I'll use myself as an example. Everybody wanted me to be an engineer. And so you go in, and once you get in the major, you decide, man, maybe that's not for me. So undeclared allows you to kind of find yourself, find a niche in what you're good at and what you're going to be passionate about. And it also allows you to find an area that you can be happy with. And so that's an option for students that go in undeclared, because the majority of students change their major at least 3 or 4 times before they decide on actually what they want to do. So again, that's an option for students. You can come in undeclared, and you can find a path that you might welcome and you'll be happy with.
Thank you, Rich. Some people select a major. We all seen it, where people select a major, but they're not committed to it. They're selecting a major and they're looking for another major. And at Fresno State, you can change your major. Okay. Next, we have psychology, and I'll speak to the psychology, the students in psychology. You could come to Fresno State, get a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, but you have certificates and master programs and advanced degrees that you can go into something else. So for instance, you can go into high school counseling after you get a psychology degree, although you don't need a psychology degree for that. Michelle, you could chime in on this because I know that you are very familiar with counseling credentials and so forth.
So yeah, so with psychology, usually I ask students, what they want to do with psychology. So let me see, Victoria, if you could put in the chat, what do you want to do with that major, or do you have an idea of what you want to do with that major, or just interested in the subject area? Since I got actually I have my degree in ag education from Fresno State, and then I went on and got my master's in counseling education, so I could counsel at either the high school level or public school level, or come to Fresno State and actually be a counselor here. So that's a stepping stone in order to do any sort of psychology or therapy. You will need to go on and get a master's degree or even a doctorate degree to practice any sort of counseling or therapy. So Victoria, just seeing if you're put in the chat, and it's okay if you don't know. A lot of students kind of don't know. They just kind of think that psychology is kind of cool and that you'll learn. Our program is about how the brain chemistry works. So you'll do a lot of science, a lot of data, a lot of research. And then you can go on to the master's program and either become a marriage and family therapist, a school psychologist, a school counselor, anything like that. Also, another good option, so I'm going to promote my college, or it's not in my college anymore, but it's our family science degree. So it's if you are applying for Fresno State, it'd be under the pre-child and family science. And then once you get admitted into Fresno State, then they'll convert you into the family science option. So it's also a good major to go into if you want to know more about relationships, or eventually go into marriage and family therapy. So psychology is a good one too. But just want to see what you wanted to do with that degree or what career maybe you're interested in.
Thank you, Michelle. Now, Ms. Leverin, if I remember correctly, you have a degree in psychology. Is that true?
Yes, so I
Okay.
did my undergrad in psychology, and then I came over to Fresno State and did my master's in education and counseling student services, and then my PPS.
Okay. So what is a PPS?
Pupil Personnel Service certificate. So that allows you to be a school counselor. There's also a PPS credential that's a little more intensive that you can become a school psychologist. So if you want to do testing to see if students have learning disabilities and help kind of structure things for them to be successful in the classroom, that's a good way to go. But yeah, the PPS credential was great. Also, like she was saying, the master's in counseling student services could have allowed me to also be at the college level. So it gets some variety there of choices.
Thank you, Ms. Leverin. I was looking at some of our professors and what their expertise is, and we have a professor that's an expertise on risky behavior, another one on gambling, another one on learning math, the psychology of learning math, depression, autism, forgetting, not Alzheimer's, although we do have someone that's an expert on Alzheimer's, but forgetting how you always forget things a certain percentage throughout your lifetime. You put your phone down and seconds later you can't find it. Okay, that kind of forgetting. We also have sports psychology and kinesiology. That's a master's level. That's also very popular. Motivation, coaching, getting people to do things. Very interesting master's program. Okay, and then so again, stay with us, Victoria, because we're going to talk about psychology later on. We might circle back to that. Okay, and then we also have physical therapy. Okay. I could talk about physical therapy unless somebody else would like to talk about it. Okay, good. So physical therapy is a doctoral program. So there's a bachelor's and then there's master's and doctoral programs. Those are after you get your bachelor's, after you get your first college degree. And so what you would do is you want to do physical therapy, you would major in kinesiology. Kinesiology means body movement, muscle movement, okay? And you would major in exercise science and that as your bachelor. So you get a degree, a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, Exercise Science. And that will have all the prerequisites you need for the physical therapy doctoral program. So you would want to come to Fresno State and you would want to make sure that you pick the correct kinesiology, because there's also education. I forgot the other one. There's a few more, but you want to pick exercise science because that has all the prerequisites. The prerequisites are what you need, the classes you need to get in that program. For instance, you could major in history and you could still go into physical therapy, but you have to take the prerequisites like physiology, anatomy, and others. So the easiest pathway, or the pathway that's directly to physical therapy, is kinesiology, exercise science. Okay. All right. So you have about 7 years of school ahead of you. You might think that's a lot of time. It's really not. Okay. Think about retirement. Think about if you finish your bachelor's and your master's around age 25, that gives you 40 years until you reach retirement working as a high-paid professional. If it's 39 years, that's fine, but you're working as a high-paid professional. So don't look at school. 4 years. Every one of our counselors and Ms. Levern will tell you 4 years goes by really quick. Okay, so don't waste your 20s, right? do well and target that at age 25. So and if you go to medical school, that's even longer, and some psychology is even longer. Okay, if you get into psychiatry, so don't worry about that. Worry about putting yourself in the position for the bulk of your life as in your career. All right. Okay. Yes. You can do that. You can go into COS, Anthony, and but you should meet with us. You definitely should meet with us because we're going to tell you what are the classes that are transferable and what are the classes in the major when you transfer into kinesiology. So you can go to COS the first couple of years, transfer to Fresno State, major in kinesiology, exercise science, and then apply to the physical therapy program.
Can I add to that, Rick, a little bit?
Sure.
Also, if you go to COS, I strongly recommend you get in with the athletic training program. A lot of they have sports in them. I have football, basketball. And that's a great way to get some hands-on experience as well, because sometimes you get letters of recommendation to get into certain programs. So that's a great opportunity for you to study kinesiology, get into the athletic training program where you actually help tape and help students ice and all that stuff. And that's a great way to get some experience. And then most of the time in there, you get connected with doctors and other physical therapists. So it's a great connection at the community college to get into.
And again, thank you, Rich. And all these are related. For instance, physical therapy. Well, we have a rodeo team on campus, okay, and we have athletics, and you could specialize in certain things. You could specialize in certain rehab, knees, elbows, necks, so forth. You can specialize in this. And I wanted to go back to psychology, and there is the psychology and graphic design or art. Some how you decorate your doctor's office, the colors you use in a hospital, in a classroom even, are related. So art is related to psychology. And Leanne, you are an art major, and I've seen some of your work. It's very good. And can you speak to something along those lines?
Yes, actually, I was going to say the same thing. If you take a look at graphic design, psychology, and physical therapy, they're all related because, number one, it is a service that you're going to, provide to the community. But in terms of art, it is a form of how you actually are able to practice. So, for instance, as in physical therapy, you are going to be practicing physical therapy procedures. And so that is an art form. Psychology, you're going to be counseling, and that's going to be an art form. And then obviously with graphic design, that's also another form of art form. So all of that is pretty much related.
Yes. Now, Michelle, we have, you were mentioning for our winery, they're getting a new label or bottles of wine, or they just had that, and that was a graphic design. I don't know if it was a competition. Can you speak to that and how important product and graphic design and psychology are related?
So yeah, so we just introduced canned wine. So that actually had a different label than our bottles of wine. So they took that. I don't think it was a competition for the canned one, but they took that into effect, and it has, if you look at our canned bottle of wine, it actually has the bulldog because it relates to tailgating and athletics, or that's what they promoted it for. So yeah, it definitely something that's an eye grabber. The the bulldog logo is something that's more eye catching than maybe the just regular it saying Fresno State. So definitely there is that correlation between psychology and getting someone to and marketing and branding a product. So definitely there's lots of psychology, and everything kind of goes in a full circle in regards to that. Or if you think of your favorite store, I can kind of date myself and say when I went to the mall and there's a store in the mall, Abercrombie. It had a specific look, it had specific smell, it had specific people. You could tell that there was very specific branding, very strategic part of that when opening their store. So there's another avenue that you guys can look at as well as a marketing in how it relates to psychology and other aspects.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Rich, how does psychology and engineering intersect, and graphic design?
Well, in psychology for engineering, sometimes you have to think, this is mechanical, for example. Some things that are overlooked is that, say you're building a car, you got to have psychology you got to take someone's, say, anger, for example. You got to make sure someone slams the door, cranks on the steering wheel. So things got to be, you have to adjust your engineering or design to relate to that. Also, you got to have the development, graphic design, what's it going to look like. So appealing, if you have just a square car, you're not going to buy it. That's why Tesla, when they make their car, they have a graphic artist that designs the car and makes it look appealing so you'll buy it. And so it all relates.
I know we have a professor here, and one of his expertise was naming cars. And Ms. Leverin, he found out that cars with triple syllables, you can charge more. People think they're getting a bigger value.
Really?
Yes, and then 2 syllables, and then the single, the 1 syllable. So when you bought a Leaf or a Cadillac, guess which one sounds richer, right? You wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to switch them.
Interesting.
You wouldn't want to switch the name. Okay, and so he names cars, and then that classic one where they named the car the Nova in the 70s, and it was a failure in South America because that means don't go. No go. So there's some funny things going on. At this time, students, you can submit your questions in the chat, but we're going to talk about some unique majors now. Okay, and we're going to start off with Rich. We're going to talk about some unique majors in your college that some students may not have heard of or not understand what they are.
So the unique major in the Lyles College of Engineering is geomatics engineering. So that's a unique one. That's the only program in the state that's accredited, and it's one of the only programs in the country. A lot of students don't know about it. I kind of say they're the program with all the toys. I mean, they have the drones, they have the 3D animation, they have a sandbox, all kinds of different programs. I kind of relate it to Google Earth. So sometimes you just can't go into, like they find ancient civilizations like in the Amazon jungle. You just can't go in and just cut all the trees down. So they use LiDAR to kind of project down so they can kind of find ancient civilizations and different things and kind of map it out. So that's kind of how they do that. They can do property lines, go into agricultural areas and map it out what the property is going to be, what the soil is. Sometimes oil companies will hire them as well to kind of, so they can plot the ocean floor, okay? So it's one of the unique majors we do have at Fresno State. And a lot of students tell me in engineering, that's probably the most fun they ever have is in geomatics engineering.
Thank you, Rich, because it's just more than surveying. It's a lot more than just surveying and measurement. Okay, Michelle, what are some of the unique majors in your college?
Some of the unique majors are two majors that you may not know what they are enology, which is making of the wine, and then viticulture, which is the growing of the vine. So we do have both majors at Fresno State. Enology, we have the first commercially bonded winery on a university campus in the United States. So that what that means is we can grow the grapes, we can make the wine, and we can actually sell it to the public. And then our viticulture, we have 120 acres of wine, table, and grapes for raisins that we do process. And then also another unique major is our food science culinology option. So it's blends the culinary arts with food science. So if you want to make a new product or develop a new product, say like Takis, or there is like those crustables, kind of weird kind of things to eat. That's really a good major to go into, just because you are in food science, which being part of the Valley, there's a large, very large food processing places in the Valley that will hire you, and great rate of pay. And then also just being creative with food. So if you don't want to necessarily be a personal chef, but you like to create new things, or as an art form, culinology would be a great option for you.
Michelle, that reminds me when I go to the grocery store, I'm much older than most of you, okay, than all of you actually. I remember when Cheez-Its only had one flavor, and now they have pizza flavored Cheez-Its and all types of different other cheese flavors, jalapeno Cheez-Its, and that was my understanding of culinology. It had to do with Cheez-Its.
When they had that new, a couple of years ago, they had like the Lay's competition where you could pick the chip type and then make up a new flavor. Well, someone has to actually create that flavor and chip, and so that would be a culinologist that would do that. So yeah, I know the word sounds kind of funny, like it's, something with your colon, but it's culinology, and you would be creating different food products.
And I know that Fresno State, they make some raspberry tea, so it also goes into liquids, correct?
Yeah, so anything that is edible or drinkable, so you can develop that, or spreads or different things like that. So someone probably created like Nutella, canned cheese, things that are not necessarily created like a grown necessarily, but have to be created. Doritos, those different types of things. Someone created that and then had to process, how are we going to make it? How are we going to process it? How is it going to be sold on the shelves? And how is it going to be stored as well? So obviously you've gone to the grocery store, and some things are, on the aisles, and some things that are in a refrigerated case. So you have to think of all those different things when you're making up your new product.
And how you're going to market them, right? How you're going to market them. Hey, that brings up another topic, the difference between science and applied science. So we have students saying, I want to study physics. Okay, and we say, good, what do you want to do with it? I'm not sure. Well, applied science, you can go into engineering, and there's a lot of physics, there's a lot of math and chemistry in engineering, along with engineering. So food science and engineering, they're applied science. You want a degree in biology, what are you going to do with it? You might want to go into food science, and that way you can apply your biology to a certain area. So the difference between science and an applied science. Okay, now next we have Leanne. Leanne, what's unique about your two colleges, unique majors about the two colleges you represent?
Yeah, so I would say for arts and humanities, I would probably say something I'd want to highlight would be the integrated design program. So that's actually a fairly new program, and it's very similar to graphic design. So Sienna, you might be a little bit interested in that. Is that if you'd like to combine graphic design along with interior design and focus on some exterior design, also still learning the same basics and foundations, but being able to do a little bit more with your visual and art techniques. That might be something for you to consider, which is again integrated design. For business, I would say sports marketing. You know, if you're interested, that would be one that I could definitely highlight, is for students who want to actually, they love sports, they want to work in the field of marketing, possibly even work with either schools or sports companies, organizations, being able to market out their materials and products, work with athletes even. That is something that they can also definitely pursue at Fresno State too. So that would be sports marketing.
And speaking of sports marketing, the Fresno State gear, shirts we're wearing, the hat I'm wearing, our gear is 5th in the state in sales and 59th in the country in sales. It makes our athletic teams very sustainable at certain times, okay? But it does bring a lot of attention to Fresno State, and it is profitable. You'll find that, Rich, isn't the biggest athletic league is the NFL, and second is college football?
Yes, yes, just if you just look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, for example, I'm a fan of them. You go anywhere in the country, their products are everywhere, and they're not everybody's from Pittsburgh. So it's just amazing how much money that generates just for apparel.
Good. I'm going to go back to Leanne. Leanne, you mentioned about coupling majors together. Can you explain to the students what a minor is?
Yes, so usually minors are in addition to your bachelor's degree. So for students who are interested in maybe studying something that is on the other side of what you're actually pursuing for a bachelor's degree, minors, they're usually 20 units or less, and they're a good way to actually take a couple classes. You'll be able to obtain a minor, and that's in addition to complementing your bachelor's degree. So for example, you know, let's say you're interested in business administration and, you know, your focus is on, let's say, marketing. You might want to focus on maybe doing a minor in, for example, you can do construction management, which is Rich is a part of. Or you can also maybe you like and you want to work with customers, consumer behavior, and so forth. Maybe you want to do a minor in psychology, something like that. So that is a good way to expand your knowledge. Not just with your bachelor's degree, but adding on additional classes to increase your level of knowledge and also to make yourself a lot more competitive out there in the real world.
Yes. I have a minor in economics, and if you know my story, that was the first class I took was economics, and I did not do very well in it, so I dropped that class. And later on, I got a minor in it, and my major is geography, and it's environmental geography, and I studied speleology, which were caves, and another option was economic geography. And so my minor in economics fit right in there. Most of it was done, actually. Does anybody, Ms. Leverin, did you earn a minor? Did you get a minor?
I did. I had a minor in education. And I think I came from a family of educators, so that just seemed like a natural fit and kind of tied in with the psychology and then later the master's in education.
Did it delay you getting your bachelor's, or did it fit right in?
It almost did. I did my undergrad actually at UC Davis, and it's on the quarter system. And my last quarter there, I needed one last class. And I couldn't get into the class, so I went to add the class the first day. And it was a classroom meant for 30 kids, and there were another 60 of us standing around waiting to try to add the class. So I was bound and determined, so I started a petition, had everyone sign it before the teacher got there, the instructor. He was so excited that he sent me to the dean's office, and they added another class, so I got my minor.
Thank you. Thank you for your story. Yes. Did anybody else on the panel get a minor? No, because I know, Michelle, you're really focused on what you're going to do in your program. I know that Ms. Leverin, Leanne's going to have to leave about 10 minutes till.
Okay.
And so she has another appointment.
No
But I was
problem.
going to ask Michelle. Michelle, can you explain what impaction is, and because some students might be looking at a major at Fresno State, and it might be an impacted major. So can you explain that?
Sure. So what impaction means is, or if our campus is impacted, which Fresno State is we receive more qualified apps than we have room for. So unfortunately, we can't admit everybody that is eligible to apply to a CSU, whether they be a first-time freshman or a transfer student. So some of our majors do have are what are called impacted majors, or I call them more competitive majors. So for example, pre-vet is a very competitive program in my college. So they just want you to be ready to apply to vet school, which is also highly competitive. So that's why the GPA or the admissions score that we're calling it now for freshmen is a little bit higher than what the CSU minimum would be. So don't think about majors as being, some of them may be more competitive just because they're either more popular or what you're going to do next is quite competitive, like pre-vet. So if you look at the list of majors that are impacted, you might see that most all of mine in my college are a little bit more competitive than the CSU minimum. But that shouldn't deter you from applying. I would just say when you do apply to Fresno State, with Cal State Apply, we do give you the option to choose an alternate major. So you may want to look at something maybe that's not as competitive as an alternate major, or something that you really want to do as a plan B if, say, you didn't get in as a pre-vet major. Fresno State will actually look at possibly your alternate major for you to be admitted to Fresno State. So it just takes a little bit more competitiveness on your GPA side to possibly get into some majors like engineering, pre-vet. I'm trying to think of the other ones that aren't in my college, but just make sure if you're a student right now or high school senior right now that you've done all that you can to get the best grade possible. And then possibly, I know we had someone that possibly wanted to go to COS first. So do the best that you can at COS, meet with us so we can get you on track to apply and get into Fresno State as quickly as possible, and then advise you properly on your coursework. And then if something happens and you need to possibly repeat a course, we can tell you what to do for that as well to make you the best, the most compatible for Fresno State and possibly for the major that you're wanting to go into.
Thank you, Michelle. Leanne, we're going to go to you. And the question is this. I know you're a very good counselor like the rest of the staff we have here. And I want to ask you, if a person's undeclared or lukewarm on their major, how should they approach their education?
I was actually a student that started at Fresno State as an undeclared major. And so I really didn't know what I wanted to study, what I liked. And so what I decided to do was I just explored. I explored taking a lot of different classes. And I looked at everything possible, the catalog. I looked at the course offerings at Fresno State, and I looked at each one, and I figured out, okay, what is it that I'm interested in? What is it that I would like to learn a little bit more about? And so that's how I approached my education. And as I started to do that, I took a lot of classes in fashion merchandising and art. I also did some in, it would be more of, I guess you can say English. But when I started taking more art classes, I became a lot more interested in art, and I started taking more art classes. And that's actually what helped me to just declare my major as art. So I think it's really important for students that if you're undeclared, definitely explore a lot of those different classes that you're really interested in, because a lot of times if you study something that you're very passionate about and you want to learn it, you're definitely going to be a lot more successful that way.
Okay, thank you, Leanne. I went to school not for a job. Well, at first I did, but then I changed my focus on getting a degree in something I'm highly interested in. And I did much better in school. Thank you, Leanne. I know you have to leave right now, so thanks for joining us. But next we're going to go to Rich. Rich, your son is a rec major, and a lot of
Yes.
people don't think about recreation as a major. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So recreation, he wants to be kind of I think his ultimate goal is to be a forest ranger, kind of. But it's recreation is like outdoor activities. You can do events. You can coordinate concerts. You can coordinate athletic events. You can work on a cruise ship. You can work at. You can be the director of the YMCA or the director of the Boys and Girls Club. So there's a lot of opportunities. Also, some of the classes is like whitewater rafting. You can go to Yosemite. You can go to Sequoias, and that's actually a class. So the parks, the national parks around us are actually a big classroom for recreation majors as well. You learn leadership and teamwork. I'd go on and on about the recreation. There's a therapeutic recreation where you kind of help people in therapy through recreation, through activities, either on the physical side or the mental side. And then you have tourism, and then you have environmental recreation as well. So it's just a overall, if people want to be outside and you don't want to be in an office all the time, then recreation might, if you enjoy activities, you like being out, working with people, services, and you want to help people, then you might want to think about recreation and getting, because that's kind of what's coming up. They want to start all these programs to get people more involved, especially here in Fresno. When you watch the news and everything, they want to get more young kids involved. And where are they going to we're going to go? The Boys and Girls Club, some kind of recreational activities or programs to help them stay out of trouble. And so recreation might be a way for you to, and it's a major, and you can have a lot of fun in it as well.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. I was thinking about many students want to go into medicine, and they want to go into pre-med, which we're really good at. And then, many of them want to go also into nursing, which is highly impacted. And Michelle's talked about what impaction is. It only takes 60 students every semester, and they have to qualify with certain certain classes to be met. But I looked at the audiology program we have at Fresno State. That's a fascinating program, and it's the pathway to become a professional and test hearing and also dispense hearing aids is a lot easier, and you get to help people. And many learning disabilities have to do with people's ability to hear. And speech is also related. So if you look at this list, and I do apologize because I could not get it, I couldn't type every one properly. So this is a screen, this is downloaded actually, but you can look at all the majors there and look at water resources and environmental under engineering. Look at studying French. There's just so much out there, and don't be afraid that you have to pinpoint your major, because I still, my major, like I said, is in geography and education, but I like linguistics. So you're not going to major in 6 different things, but at least that when you go to college and you get your degree, you can always go back to those interest areas and as a hobby or just actually learning. Psychology, I always go back to psychology, and I've been studying on my own for several years of detecting when people lie, and so what their behavior is. So it is a lot of fun to not only get your degree, but see this list right here, keep on exploring. I went to the Louvre, and if I didn't have my art class, I would not know what I was looking at. So my art class, even though I'm not an art major, was very beneficial. Very beneficial to me when I understood what I was doing, what I was looking at. Okay, I'm going to allow Michelle to make a suggestion or a final comment to the students, and I think we're about close to our time, so I'll turn it over to Michelle. Speak to the students about, well, could be their approach to selecting a major.
Yeah, so basically, if you can, I always tell students, figure out what you don't want to do, because that's easier. Like myself, I didn't like human like blood and all that stuff, so I know I didn't want to be a nurse, even though all my family is pretty much in the medical field and nurses. So kind of start making a list of what you don't necessarily want to do, because that will be easier, and then research and do internships like Rich said about, get some experience in those options that you may want to look at, just because then you'll figure out kind of if it's for you or if you don't like it. And then I also put in the chat our catalog link, so you can look at all of our different majors for Fresno State and get a little bit more information if you don't necessarily know what they're about, or if we didn't talk about those specifically today. So just do a lot of research and exploring, and you'll figure it out. I found my dream job, and I combine agriculture with helping students or counseling here at here with this job. So it is there. It did take me a little bit after I got my bachelor's degree and a little bit after I got my master's, but trust me, you'll find your dream job at some point. It's out there. I'm just a living proof that it is. So just keep researching and keep exploring.
Thank you, Michelle. Rich?
I usually tell inform students, also tell yourself, where do you want to be in 10 years? Do you want to still be in the Valley? Also look at the want ads, the classifieds, and see what they're asking for, who are they looking for? And if it's something that you like, then you chase after that degree, because that's what you want to do. You want to be able, the biggest thing in Fresno State is when you get out, most students want to go to university as soon as they get out and get a job. So you want to also have the opportunity to be happy, and also be able to support yourself and be and help out the community as well. So you got to look at different areas. Again, what do you want? Like Michelle said, make a list and what you want, what you don't want, and what you want, and then see what best fits. And that's kind of how you figure out what you want to major in as well.
And I always remind students, you could do a lot of different things, many different things. Don't think you have to major in every one of those areas. Ms. Leverin, if you want to comment, I know you have counseling experience in the high school, and when students come to you and they don't know what to study, what do you usually advise them to do?
I like what Rick said. I've had students look at companies that they want to work for to kind of determine what degrees they're requiring for the jobs. And then that followed up by internships. Go out and really experience what it means to be that career. Because sometimes when we read about something and when we actually go out and do it, they're not necessarily the same. So getting that hands-on experience really will help you determine real fast whether you like it or not.
I have a related story. I thought I wanted to do radio and television, so I volunteered in a public radio, and I did a classical music show, and it was fun. It was a blast. I learned so much, but that's not what I really wanted to do. I wanted to do something different, although I really liked it, but there might be something more you like. It's like ordering food, right? You might like that pizza, but there might be another food that you might like more. Okay, so I did do that, and it was a lot of fun. I learned so much, but I also learned that, okay, I had enough of this. Let's go do something else. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, I want to thank you, Ms. Leverin, for inviting us, and we really appreciate speaking with your students. And
Thank you.
This opportunity is really fun. This is a highlight of our week. We get busy responding, but we really enjoy. And last week, the counselors were very complimentary of this program that you have.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking your time out of your busy schedule and coming to talk to our students. It's greatly appreciated. And I think just really the insight about the options for majors and the depth of choices is great for kids to know. So thank you for sharing your expertise with our students. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.